right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 306 Fantasy Football Podcast. We're here, episode number 9, with Armand Schellenberg and Zach Strong, our co-hosts. This week, we're going to be talking about a little bit of news, a little bit of notes about, we got obviously the big Julio Jones trade. We're going to be talking insiders and headliners with a few other pieces of notes and news there. Keep trade cut. We got a good one. We're going to throw to Armand and see what his little analysis of this trade is with the keep trade cut. And then also we got the NC Squared boys on for a little bit of Fantasy Feud. So we got a good episode this week. Obviously we're ready to go here. Armand, let's go to you first here. Armand, what's new and exciting?
I spent most of this last weekend here just doing yard work and trimming trees and mowing lawns and tilled a little bit of our front yard here. We're going to plant some haskaps and strawberries and a pear tree. Going to have some good fruit, hopefully.
Right on. Zach, how about yourself? Keeping busy there down in Saskatoon or what?
Yeah, you bet. Super busy time of year for most teachers out there. So like most of us, grinding hard, getting report cards finished. So lights at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, boys, we can see it. It's coming soon here. Summertime, June 25th, I don't think can come any quicker at this point. But yeah, she's been nice weather. Myself actually took the day off of doing some renovations and doing the standard house stuff. We worked on the house quite a bit yesterday, and myself and my fiance went down to Saskatoon, did a little bit of running around, went out and had a nice little lunch there at the old Cactus Club. # not a sponsor. It was nice little meal. It's a nice way to kind of wrap up the weekend and enjoy some nice weather. So but now we're back. We're recording on a Sunday just because, like Zach had mentioned, just with this week with report cards and everything coming out and getting the grind going. Armin and I, we coach football every day this week here, the last week of spring football for the kids. So it's a busy week. So we're throwing this one on the Sunday and hoping no crazy news busts out on Monday or Tuesday before Wednesday drop. But we're ready to go here. So might as well get started here. First segment, insiders and headliners. First piece of news: Cam Newton goes down with an injury during the preseason stuff here. A little bit of workouts, the OTAs. So it looks like he's going to be back and ready to go here. They said it doesn't look too crazy. He should be ready to go for the 3-day mini camp. Even in the 11-on-11s, Jones wasn't quite a starter there. But maybe let's go to our Pats guy here, Zach. What's your take on Newton there? You think his position's in jeopardy here? Or do you think he's still holding on to that?
So that's really interesting because after the first media availability for rookie camp, Mac Jones he's a savior. Everybody was excited. And then after the previous 2 media days at Pat's OTAs, that seemed to cool down where he was like the 3rd or 4th quarterback getting reps. So really hard to tell. I think in order for the Pats to have a good year, they almost need Newton behind center.
Yeah.
But I think long-term, find out what you got with Mac Jones. If you're going to fail fast. So
I can't believe in 11-11s they didn't give him a shot. Like Brian Hoyer is by no means going to get any meaningful snaps this season. So in OTA,
yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah. No kidding. So I don't know why you wouldn't give him a chance in OTAs to hit the floor running, but unless you weren't trying to build his confidence, like I don't know, but that seemed pretty bizarre to me that in 11-11s he wasn't even getting one of the 1 or 2 team reps. So moving on here, Zach Ertz trade, a little bit of rumblings, a little bit of rumors. Obviously him being traded wouldn't be as big as Julio Jones, but we did our predictions. So a few teams that have been kind of rumored in there. I think Buffalo and Arizona, I think, are the 2 being rumored the most. Is a couple smaller markets that maybe have been kind of kicking the tires a bit. But if we had to take a guess here, fellas, where do you think Ertz is going to go?
I think Buffalo makes the most sense. They're going for it, right? They feel like they got a team there to try and go for it. It seems like so. They're going to be a little bit outbidding the other teams, I think, for Ertz there. I think they'll give a bit more haul. So.
Yeah, Zach?
Yeah, I agree, Armand. I think Buffalo is in a win now kind of position where they gotta do what they need to do to get those pieces. But I'd keep my eye open on Indy, the Colts.
Oh yeah.
I think that connection with Wentz. I think that might be a good spot for him.
It was actually kind of funny. Me and Armand were doing supervision this past week for school, and we were walking around and mentioned, I said, "Oh man, Arizona's looking like they might be it." I said, I think a really good landing spot would be Buffalo. I think that fits their situation. They're looking for a tight end. He'll be a red zone target big time. And then like 2 days later, all of a sudden they're like, "Yeah, Buffalo is really interested in Zach Ertz." I was like, "Oh yes, let's go." I was pretty excited because as a guy that has Zach Ertz shares, those shares aren't worth a whole heck of a lot, unfortunately, in comparison to years past. So all of a sudden he can start getting some red zone targets. That might be a little hidden gem coming into this season. So fingers crossed. I think all three of us want the Buffalo. So let's fingers crossed. And
one other thing to keep in mind with Indy is the coach now in Philly has Indy ties. So kind of saw that with Julio Jones, the Falcons and the Titans, having that coach tie in there really helped, I think. So I'll keep my eye on that spot.
Well, and piecing Wentz back together with Ertz, which they had that little nice connection there for a couple of years. So it would be a nice little, if that does happen, obviously, that they have the connection. They don't have to rebuild and start scratch.
Fantasy wise, I do like Indy better than Buffalo, but I think practically, I think it's more likely going to be Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo, I think you're just relying on the red zone targets a little more than you would in Indy, at least, right?
But their red zone targets is Josh Allen running it in.
Exactly, or Diggs taking it to the house kind of thing, right? So he doesn't have the same separation he's had in the years past. So I think, unfortunately, you are going to be relying a lot of the red zone targets. It's just a matter of which organization is he going to go to, where I think his stock kind of goes up a little bit in comparison to other teams. So this one a little bit on the more dynasty perspective. Jay Sternberg from the Green Bay Packers gets a 2-game suspension for substance abuse. A 3rd-round draft pick. He kind of lost his job. Well, I shouldn't say kind of. He did lose his job last year. He was like in startup drafts, dynasty drafts. He was the guy to get, and he was kind of that seemed to be the hidden gem, the new tight end potential breakout. And people were right. There was going to be a tight end breakout in Green Bay. Unfortunately, was not Jace. But I think this is a tough little situation for him. Obviously, not even being the tight end one, and then missing on a couple of games here. That's a tough start to the season there. Keeping on the Green Bay Packers. Seems like we're talking about this every episode. Aaron Rodgers, they playing the game of chicken, and he did not show up to mandatory minicamp. So they have the option. They can fine him. Or they can waive the fine and say that it was just a leave of absence and it's an approved leave. I guess at that point, the ball is in Green Bay's court now. Rodgers called the bluff, and now we'll see what Green Bay is going to do. So one of 2 options, I think, if whatever decision they make, it's going to be really telling what they want to do moving forward. I'm not sure. What do you guys think about the whole not showing up? I mean, we talked about this before. He's a stubborn guy, but I think at this point now it's no longer speculations. We're full into the I guess I would call it the saga of Aaron Rodgers now.
The fine part of the equation is really interesting because I'm sure they're like, if they have the option to waive it, I'm sure that's going to come back maybe to bite them in the butt. Different owners being like, well, you let your star QB sit out. Now we got to let our star QB sit out. Like the CBA, the Players Association, the owners, I think that has a large impact on how this plays.
Yeah, it's got it's a precedent setting situation where
setting the precedent,
wherever what they decide, I guess teams, like you mentioned, teams are going to have to go forward and be like, well, I'm a star like Rodgers, so you better eat it, right? So, and the whole reason that was put into place was for guys to not sit out and not in the contract negotiation and stuff. But now if team players are finding loopholes, the players are going to utilize that opportunity. So like you mentioned, precedent setting, I think it's going to be a big decision when Green Bay finally kind of decides what they're going to do.
I'm getting even more into the mindset of I'm not going to see Aaron Rodgers in a Green Bay uniform ever again. Last episode I said 35%. I think I'm going down to like 25%, 20% now. I don't see it happening now.
And we talked about this the other day too. I think it's more likely that he will retire than get traded. I just can't see Green Bay trading him. But we all said Rodgers is pretty stubborn, so I can definitely see him pulling the pin before actually Green Bay will trade him. But once again, as the saga continues, we'll keep dishing you the news. But it just seems like it's one thing after another, and we might be waiting a while till we see what actually happens. But as each little piece goes, we'll continue to hopefully overreact and get some Green Bay fans little bothered, a little bit worried coming into the season, because you might be able to feel mine and Armand's pain here real quick.
Yeah.
Goff's coming in hot, boys. Look out. Last piece of news, and this is the big one, you guys. Julio Jones traded to Tennessee. We all took our gambles and our bets on who we thought was where he was gonna go, and Tennessee won the sweepstakes. AJ Brown offered him the 11s. He said no, thank you. He said, and you ended up going with 2. And well, 1 + 1 = 2. They're math guys there in Tennessee. They decided to go. Julio Jones is now number 2. So the trade was for a 2020 second and a 2022 second and a 2023 fourth for Julio and a 2023 sixth. So I think this trade kind of worked out well for both teams. A team that's very win now and in their window of opportunity, and lost a lot of targets this past offseason. And then a team that's just seemingly rebuilding. They unload their overpaid, but highly paid star, and that is getting quite old, and it's kind of getting them into the direction that they can start rebuilding. So I think right now it's a good opportunity for both teams. But so maybe let's dive into this a little bit. I think when this first news broke there, Zach had to talk me off the ledge, because I was all hot and bothered. I was concerned about my AJ Brown, and then we actually had a little dive in conversation about it as a podcast in our group chats, and Zach taught me off the edge. So maybe Zach, you want to maybe tell the people what they should be doing here first of all with this trade.
Yeah, don't panic sell on AJ Brown. I think taking into consideration the vacated targets from Janu Smith and from Corey Davis, I still think there's lots of meat on the bone left in Tennessee. And not to mention, there's nothing saying that they can't pass the ball more. Obviously Julio Jones is quite the upgrade over Corey Davis, so that might take that offense to another level. Defenses are going to be in tough. Like, do you want to load the box and have one of, if not both, Julio or AJ, single man with no safety over top, or do you want to have more guys in the defensive backfield and have a thin box and let Henry just eat? Like, you're in tough either way. So I wouldn't panic if I was a AJ Brown owner. And I'm quite happy as a Julio owner. I think that's a really good spot for him.
Well, and you're a Calvin Ridley owner too, so I think you can't be too upset about that. So
Yeah.
this leads us in perfectly to Keep Trade Cut. We left Armand out there on the news because we're going to give him his opportunity to tell the fan base what he truly believes. Because for Keep Trade Cut, we're doing the Atlanta, Tennessee option. And we're going to make Armand decide Julio Jones, AJ Brown, Calvin Ridley. So the 3 people that are seemingly the most impacted in this trade, and the 3 receivers, we're going to make Armand tell us what he believes, and then we'll kind of give him our 2 cents based on that. So Armand, Julio Jones, AJ Brown, and Calvin Ridley. Keep Trade Cut.
Wow, when this one was thrown out to me, I looked at it and I was like, oh, man, that's like one of our hardest Keep Trade Cuts yet. Holy dynam. All right, so like what Zach's saying there, I would even say instead of keep, I'd buy AJ Brown right now. And people are buying him even before here, and I don't know why so many people are low on Brown. Like, he gets open, he's great after the catch, he doesn't drop the ball, he's efficient as all get out here. So buy AJ Brown if he's available. This might be a great time to buy him. So yeah, keep AJ Brown. I'm thinking trade Julio. People are thinking, yeah, this is a good landing spot. He could be the number 1 guy there still. You got Tannehill and that play action. He should be nice and open and getting some big plays and chunk yardage here. And I think it'd be a good time to trade him. Not that I don't want to have Julio on my team. I think he'll still put up some good numbers in Tennessee, but I believe in that Tennessee team a little bit more than I do than Calvin Ridley by himself there. I'm saying cut Calvin Ridley, and that's hard to say. He's a good receiver. I like him. he took a few years though to truly break out. I think you're not going to get as many years out of him either as someone like Julio, I think, as well. So cut him loose now before he falls off a cliff, right? If I could really want to change this, I could say buy AJ Brown, keep Julio Jones, and trade Calvin Ridley instead, because these are good players that it's hard to say you don't want to have them on your team and they have no value. But yeah, Ridley, he has Pitts coming in too. He's going to start eating up targets. Maybe not this. Well, actually, now that Julio's gone, he will eat up some targets this year, and then he'll eat up even more targets as the years go on. And Dwayne brought us in on Russell Gage a little while ago, and he's looking good. So
there's reports that they're moving him all around the field too. So
yeah,
I'm not sure how high he's going to get on redraft boards, but he might be one of those sleeper targets come draft season. But
yeah,
I think the hype might kind of take that and carry it away. But
yeah, so I think Ridley, he's not as valuable as you might think yet.
And Zach, you agree?
Armand, you have to cool down, buddy, because that was a hot take. I disagree.
Hey, I said buy, keep, trade instead.
I agree with you're probably going to keep AJ Brown. I am wholeheartedly cutting Julio, and I'm going to trade Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Zach.
If anybody in our league approached me and tried to acquire Calvin Ridley, you better back up that truck. I'm asking for your best player and probably an early pick. I have him as like wide receiver 6 or 7 probably. As Armand was talking, I pulled up Fantasy Pros here. They have him at number 5 wide receiver overall.
When you look at his numbers, even like Julio missed a lot of time last year, and when you look at his numbers without Julio, he still produced. So I think the hype, the fact is that you've seen it. Like everybody's like, well, we haven't really seen it. Well, you kind of did, because he missed quite a bit of. Yeah, it's not the fact that he's proven that he's a bona fide good to go one, but he's done it in enough time where it's like, okay, you can see that there's a window of opportunity for sure.
Yeah. And the reason I'm trading Calvin and I'm not keeping him is I want to trade him in this scenario, I have to trade him just because of Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is long in the tooth. I think in the next year or two, they're looking for an upgrade, especially if they stink again. Mm-hmm. Somebody like Spencer Rattler, Howell, somebody like that might be in Atlanta next year. So I think you keep the young guy with the quarterback that can be there for a few more years.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you. I think the hype around Ridley now being alone is more than the hype around AJ Brown. The hype around AJ Brown was crazy this offseason before that trade. So I think you're just capitalizing on money, right? Which is going to get you more money. Well, if you're telling me you get one of them, well, I'll gladly take either one, right? It's just the fact that when you're trading, which is going to give you more value. So I think I'm in total agreement with you there, Zach. Not to say that Julio's not a great asset and I'm going to take him. I'm going to be all over him redraft. Like he's slipping into like the 4th, 5th round right now. And that's crazy to say that Julio Jones in the 4th round in redraft. Well, before be taking your 109, 110 pick. But so I'm sure I will have a lot of Julio Jones stock in redraft leagues, but I think
especially at that price, right?
Yeah, no kidding. So that's that was spicy, Armin. Your hot takes coming early there. I like it. I like it. All right, so that'll do it for Keep Trade Cut here. What do you say, fellas? Let's throw it over to I guess we might as well mention it. We mentioned at the start. NC Squared podcasts are coming on for this one. We are going to get them to participate in some Fantasy Feud, and I watched. I was listening to the Dynasty Pros. Zach mentioned they have a podcast there too. So I was listening to one of theirs the other day, and actually the episode I happened to listen to was Fantasy Feud. And I was like, hey, that's kind of a neat idea. I wanted to do something similar, so I was thinking more the Jeopardy route. But also I was listening to this Fantasy Feud. I was like, man, this is actually kind of cool. So I was like, threw the idea to the boys, and they jumped all over it. So it worked out well that I was on their podcast. So it works out well to have them on here, and they get to share a little bit of their football knowledge and fantasy knowledge with the group and have a little bit of fun with it too. So What do you figure? Let's throw it over to the Fantasy Feud, or
Yeah.
Bring him
Why
in.
not?
right on. All right, here we go. Off-season segment, Fantasy Feud. All right, everybody, here we go, and welcome to our very first edition of Fantasy Feud. So for this one, our own 306 Fantasy Football is taking on a family of their own, hosts from the NC Squared podcast. Boys, how we doing?
We're happy to be here.
Yeah, we are honored to be here.
We got Cordy, we got Upton, and we got Nolan. So all the three hosts from the NC Squared podcast. We gave them the option. We asked if they wanted to split it up or if they wanted to go mono family, and they decided that they wanted to try and take down the champs. And we got a little wager on the line here. The losers have to grace the winners with a case of beer. So we'll see how this is going to go. So kind of just giving a brief little overview of how this is going to work, and then we'll get right into Fantasy Feud. Obviously, myself as the host, I'm going to be impartial. I'm going to host it, so I'm just hoping my boys bring it forward for us so we can enjoy a couple cold ones together. If not, we got to buck up and give the boys their dues. So we have Armand and Zach are going to take on the three boys from NC Squared. Fantasy Feud, it's going to be exactly how kind of Family Feud runs. We have the top 6 answers on the board. The boys are going to buzz in and then kind of go from there. Standard Family Feud rules. And then at the end, we'll crown a reigning champion. So before we get started here, fellas, does anybody have any questions? So just to buzz in, they're going to raise their hand and they're going to say the name of their podcast. So for 306, they're just going to say 306, and NC Squared, that's all they're going to say is NC Squared. Whoever I kind of hear first / see the hand go up first, we'll go with that. And like I said, I'll be impartial, an impartial host, and we'll see how this goes. So we got a handful of questions here. Some are just general NFL questions, and some are a little bit fantasy football related questions as well too. So we polled a bunch of the fans, and together we accumulated the top 6 answers on the board. Some didn't quite make the cut. Just obviously the most common answers made the top 6. So we're gonna go in order. For the NC Squared podcast, the very first person on the family is Cord, and then Upton, and then Nolan. And then for the 306 Fantasy Football podcast, first will be Armand, and then Zach, and we'll just keep going through the options. At the very end, we'll do a fast money, and each family can kind of choose which one of their family members wants to do the fast money. So when we get down to it, we can maybe see who's coming in hot and who's answering the most correct questions, because fast money is going to be a big one at the end there too. So the very first question, we're going to start off here, you guys. I'm just going to throw a nice easy one out there. So our first one is between Armand and Cord. The first question.
Hey, good luck, Armand.
Oh yeah, good luck to you.
It's a gentleman's sport here. So the first question. When you think you know the answer, buzz in. Which NFL team do you think will win the Super Bowl this season?
NC Squared.
Oh, Cord, first one. What is your answer you'd like to go with?
I would like to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, please.
That is the number 2 answer on the board. 20 people agree with Cord that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be the Super Bowl champions. Armand, you need the number 1 answer to try and take the option here. Who is your answer?
All right, let's run it back to the last one, to the Chiefs.
Number 1 answer, Armand Schellenberg. All right, so the number 1 and the number 2 answers are off the board. 41% of the people believe Kansas City Chiefs will be the number 1 and they are going to win. Tampa Bay to repeat, 20% of them. So 61 of the votes are off the board. We are now left with number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. So Zach, you are up.
All righty. Let's go with the Bills Mafia, Buffalo Bills.
The number 3 answer on the board.
Nice.
12% of the people believe Buffalo Bills will be the Super Bowl champions. Bringing it back to Armand. We got number 4, number 5, and number 6 remaining.
Maybe people will have faith in Baltimore this year. Let's go with the Ravens.
Number 5 answer on the board. That would be 8% of people believe that the Baltimore Ravens are going to win. 2 answers remaining. We're on to Zach.
Oof. Somebody has to come out of the NFC. Let's go the Cowboys.
There we go. First X. The Cowboys is not correct. So the first X, we're going on to Armand. Be careful because you now have a strike.
The LA Rams.
The Rams are the number 4 answer. We only have one remaining, and it is the final answer on the board. With one strike, we're sitting in good position here. Zach, who do you think the people believe is the last team to try and win, or they believe will win the Super Bowl?
Let's go up north to Green Bay.
That's spicy.
Second strike. So NC squared, be ready to steal. Be ready to steal. With 2 strikes, we're going back to Armand. The number 6 answer. What do you think it is? I'm going to have to give you a countdown here.
Yeah. Let's go with
3, 2, 1.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Time's up. Time's up. I got to be honest. That's too many. That's 3 strikes. Sorry, 306. No answer. That gives NC squared a chance to steal the points and clear the board. I'll give you guys a couple seconds to deliberate and make your guys' guess.
Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. I think I agree with Nolan.
It could be a team out of the NFC, but I don't know. I think it's
so if it's out of the NFC, it's probably Arizona or Seattle.
I'd say Cleveland.
My vote's with Cleveland too.
Okay, let's go Cleveland. We're gonna go with the Cleveland Browns, please, Jordan.
To steal the board, let's see. The number 6 answer. Is it the Cleveland Browns? No.
Oh, I thought for sure.
There was a couple, but it wasn't enough. With 5 people believe the Tennessee Titans will
I figured.
champions. When Julio they trust.
Oh, I forgot about that.
You guys said Cleveland. Oh, I was so worried.
Calculate the points real quick here to give 306 the first set of points. So 90 points to start. 306 starting off hot. Okay, number 2 question. This one's maybe a tougher one here.
Oh, good.
So now we have Zach buzzing in, and then we have Upton buzzing in. Okay, so I'm going to pull up here and get this ready. Okay, name a player that is actually really good, but you refuse to draft him this upcoming season.
306.
All right, Zach buzzing in first. What is your answer?
Let's go with Odell Beckham.
The number 1 answer on the board. Odell Beckham Jr. 21%.
I got to give respect. That's who I was going with too. I respect that.
All right, Zach, you have the option. Would you like to pass or play?
What do you think, Armand?
Let's play.
Heck yeah.
All right, the boys are going to keep it. So going to Armand, I'll repeat the question for you. Name a player that is actually pretty good, but you will refuse to draft him this upcoming season.
I'm going to go with Hollywood Brown.
Hollywood Brown. Not on the board. First strike.
Sorry, Zach.
Going back to Zach. Name a player that's actually pretty good, but you refuse to draft him this upcoming season.
You're a guy there in Oakland or Vegas. Let's go with Josh Jacobs.
The number 2 answer on the board with 17% share. Josh Jacobs off the board. Okay, we are left with number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6 answer. Armand, your turn.
Aaron Rodgers.
Second strike with 4 left on the board. We are going back to Zach. NC squared. Be prepared to steal here.
Hi, Chihuahua. Let's see here. Let's go Ronald Jones.
Ronald Jones. Not on the board. 3 quick strikes. We were passing it off with 4 opportunities to steal for the NC squared podcast. I'll give you guys a chance to deliberate here, fellas. We have 4 answers remaining. Who would you guys like to select to try and steal?
I think Juju would be one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Trying to think.
That's probably the best one. For some reason I thought Baker Mayfield, but I was like, nah, I'd draft him.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, let's go with Juju.
I like Juju.
I do too.
All right. To steal the board, NC Squared Podcast is going with Juju Smith-Schuster. Let's see what the board says. Not on the board. So
Juju's just trash. Not even good.
That gives 306 Podcast a total more of 38 points. Let's see the board. Number 3 answer, Joe Mixon. Number 4, Michael Thomas. Number 5, Saquon Barkley. And number 6, Deshaun Watson.
I would agree with Watson and what was the second guy you said?
Michael Thomas.
Thomas, yeah. The other guys I would draft still, I think.
I'm hands off Joe Mixon, I think. He's burnt me too many times. And this might be like fool me twice, shame on me situation here, but I think I'm all out on him. So anyways, that is our second one. At this point, we are going to have one more question before we double the points. So we have 2 questions remaining before Fast Money. At this point, 306 Podcast has a total of 128 points to 0 currently for NC Squared Podcast. Have a couple chances to steal. No sweeps on the board yet, but the boys will be coming in hot here. Okay. Third question. Name a player that is likely to miss time due to injury this upcoming season.
306.
All right, Armand, who would you like to answer first?
Let's go back to the well of OBJ.
Number 1 answer on the board, Odell Beckham Jr. Would you like to pass or would you like to play?
What are you thinking, Zach?
Let's keep it.
Okay.
Let's take the ball.
All right. Going to Zach. Who would you like to guess for your second one? Name a player that's likely to miss time due to injury this upcoming season. Odell Beckham Jr. had 21% of the shares of answers, just so you guys know.
Thanks for that. What about, let's go to Mixon.
Joe Mixon. Let's see. Joe Mixon, not on the board. Your first strike. Going to Armand.
Let's go with CMC.
Christian McCaffrey. The number 6 answer with 6% of the shares. Going back to Zach with 1 strike. Name a player that's likely to miss time due to injury.
What if we go to Miles Sanders?
Miles Sanders. Not on the board. Okay, 2 strikes. NC Squared Podcast. Be prepared to steal. Armand, 2 strikes. Be careful. Name a player that is likely to miss time this upcoming season due to injury.
Let's go with Saquon.
Saquon Barkley. The number 5 answer on the board with 7% share of answers. Saquon Barkley off the board. We are left with the number 4, number 3, and number 2 answers. Zach, 2 strikes. Name a player that is likely to miss time due to injury.
Jimmy G.
Jimmy G. 3 strikes. NC Squared Podcast. Prepare to steal. Name a player that is likely to miss time due to injury this season. You guys can deliberate.
Joe Burrow.
Michael Thomas.
Julio.
3 different answers.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I'm just thinking like
one of them's gonna be up there too.
Joe Burrow torn ACL last year.
Terrible old line.
Dak.
Ooh.
Wins.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it. I
Yeah.
trust you, Cord. You're a smart guy, I think.
Where are we gonna go? Are we going with Dak?
Yeah.
Yes, lock it in.
Dak Prescott, please.
Dak Prescott is the answer. Let's see the board. Dak Prescott not on the board. And 34 points go to the 306 Podcast. Remaining on the board, number 4, Will Fuller.
Oh yeah.
Number 3, James Conner. And the number 2 answer, Delvin Cook.
Oh,
Okay. So
All
now
right.
we're at the point. We got to give the boys a little chance here to make some redemption. We're going into double points for the final question here before we go to fast money. So this question is worth double points. Number 4, name a player that in 5 years' time you believe could be the number 1 wide receiver.
306.
All right, Zach, who do you believe the people believe is going to be the number 1 receiver in 5 years?
Let's go with AJ Brown.
AJ Brown. AJ Brown is the number 4 answer.
Let's go, Cordy. Let's go.
Cord, you can get the number 3, number 2, and number 1, and you guys can make the decision here. So who do you believe is going to be better than AJ Brown in the next 5 years? In 5 years' time. In 5 years, they'll be the number 1 receiver.
DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf?
Yeah.
The number 1 answer, Cord, DK Metcalf. Would you guys like to pass or would you guys like to play?
We'll play, Jordan. We'll play.
We're going to play. All right.
Yeah, we need to play.
Family. We are on to Upton. Upton, who is a player that in 5 years' time you believe could be the number 1 receiver?
I really like that AJ Brown one a lot. That was a good one. It's tough being put on the spot, man. It's a lot of pressure. People are pretty high on Jamar Chase. Let's put him on there.
Jamar Chase. Let's see the board.
He won't be on there.
Jamar Chase, the number 2 answer. Upton, good guess there. Okay, so we are left with the number 6, number 5, and number 3 answers on the board. Going to Nolan. Nolan, who do you believe could be the number 1 receiver in 5 years?
I'm gonna go with CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb. Let's take a look.
Oh.
Good guess. Good guess. I thought he would have been on this list for sure too. CeeDee Lamb not on there.
Wow.
Okay, so we're left with number 6, number 5, and number 3. You only have 1 strike. Back to Cord.
Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson. The number 3 answer with a 16% share of the answers. Okay, we're left with our number 5 and number 6 questions remaining, and we're back to Upton.
Yeah. I'm trying to think here. What about man, it's tougher than people think. What about I'm trying to think. I'm trying to blank. What about Sutton from Denver?
Let's check the board and see what they think about Cortland Sutton. Strike number 2. Okay, with 2 strikes, we're going to Nolan. 306 podcast, be prepared to steal. We're on to Nolan with 2 strikes. Be careful. Name a player that in 5 years' time you believe could be the wide receiver number 1.
I don't know about this one. I'm gonna go with Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith. The number 5 answer on the board with a 6% share of the answers. Okay, we are down to our last answer. Cord, to clear the board with the number 6 answer, name a receiver that in 5 years' time you believe could be the number 1 fantasy receiver. 2 strikes, either sweeping the board or 306 has a chance to steal.
You know what? Maybe he'll still just be that good in 5 years. We're going to go with Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams to sweep the board. Let's see what the people think. No. Now, 306 with a chance to steal.
I got 4 guys in mind here, Zach.
All right, hit me.
I'll give you a second to deliver.
McLaurin, Judy, Claypool, and Waddle.
I don't like Claypool. Who are the first 2?
Judy and McLaurin.
Ah. Fuck.
The thing is like none of them have quarterbacks, but that could change in 5 years, right?
Yeah. I don't know if people are thinking that way, though.
Yeah.
Well, I struck out last time by myself, so if you want to pull the trigger on this, go
How
for
about
it.
Judy? Do you want to go Judy? He can't be that forgotten yet.
I don't know if I like Judy though.
Oh.
What about Diggs?
He says you
Big?
can choose, but just kidding. No, you can't. All right, boys. All right, boys. Make a decision. I'll give you 5 more seconds to deliberate, and then you got to pick.
All right,
5
Armand, you
games
just
for
rip
Diggs?
it. Rip it.
I'm gonna go Judy. I'm doing Judy. I'm going Judy.
Your answer is Jerry Judy.
Yeah.
Let's see what the board thinks. Jerry Judy with a 4%
Unreal.
here. Number 6 answer. So they steal the board with double points. I believe that's a total of
Don't even tell us.
90
This is rigged.
No.
When you were trying to talk him off Jerry Judy, I was like, oh boy, Zach, that's a mistake.
Oh,
So that's a total of 180. So we're going into fast money. I'll make fast money triple points because then
Thank
we
God.
can have a chance. So I'm going to add this up here. The boys are a little bit behind. You can peek here. Currently going into fast money, 310 to 0.
Nice.
So I'll
That'd be
make them
good.
triple points. We can make it interesting because some of them there's a bit of a gap. So 310 to 0 going into fast money. Now, fast money, for those of you at home that are not familiar with Family Feud, you have 45 seconds to answer the following questions. And because we're doing it family versus family and not families together, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get the boys to mute themselves. So we'll get we'll give the NC Squared podcast a chance to go first. So when we start here, I'm going to get Armand and Zach to leave, and then they'll rejoin the meeting in a second. And then we'll do the fast money for them so they can hear all the answers. And then I'll bring Armand and Zach in, and then they can hear your answers. It doesn't matter all that much at that point. Okay. So at this point, Armand and Zach, please leave the meeting, and then I will text you when you guys can come back. There we go. Okay. So which of you three would like to do the fast money here, fellas?
Gord.
Fuck, okay.
I'll go if you don't want to, Gord.
I don't give a shit. I'm
There you
stupid.
go.
All right, so we got 5 questions here. Fast money. Cord is going to go for the family of the NC Squared podcast. You got 5 questions, and we'll say about 45 seconds to a minute. I'll give you. I'll be generous here. I might be a little more stingy for the other guys to try and make them speed their answers up. Okay. Okay. Fast money. Question number 1. The time will start as soon as I finish reading the first question. Question number 1. What is your favorite type of fantasy football league to play in?
Dynasty.
Question number 2. On average, how many leagues do you play in per year?
3.
Number 3. Who do you think will go second overall in a 1 QB redraft league?
Dalvin Cook.
Number 4. What round would you draft a quarterback if you're in a single quarterback redraft league?
5.
And then question number 5, which tight end is most likely to beat Travis Kelce and become tight end 1 this upcoming season?
George Kittle.
Perfect. There we go, Cordy boy. We got it. So I'll tell you the answers and stuff once we go over them. So I'm going to text those guys and tell them to come back in the chat. So between the two of you, who's going to go here?
Armand, you carried the team, bud.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay, Armand, you're doing it. So I'll explain to you quickly. Once I'm done reading the first question, you can answer it.
Okay.
You'll have about 45 seconds to answer all the questions. If you're stuck on a question, say pass, and if we have time, we can come back to it.
Okay.
Once again, the top 6 answers are on the board. We pulled the people, and we'll see if you can hit the same answers on fast money. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. Your time begins as soon as I finish the first question. Are you ready?
Yeah. Let's go.
All right. Question number 1. What is your favorite type of fantasy football league to play in?
Dynasty.
Number 2, on average, how many leagues do you play in per year?
2.
Number 3, who do you think will go second overall in a 1 QB redraft league?
CMC.
Number 4, what round would you draft a quarterback if you're in a single quarterback redraft league?
7.
No, question number 5, which tight end is most likely to beat Travis Kelce and become the tight end 1 this upcoming season?
Kittle.
Boom. We are done on the clock. 3:06 answered. So I will share with you guys the number one answer. And then kind of where we figured out from based on them, a couple carryover answers. I'll do the math and we'll find out who the winner is. So this is for triple points. Okay. So the first question, what is your favorite type of fantasy football league to play in? The number one answer was redraft leagues. Both teams answered dynasty. So both teams get 30 points. So 30 points, meaning you actually get 90 points. Okay.
Nice. We're on the board. Let's go.
Question number 2 on the board, NC squared. Question number 2, on average, how many leagues do you play in per year? The number one answer was 2 leagues. So NC squared answered 3 leagues. They got 20 points, so a total of 60. 306 answered 2 leagues. That was the number one answer for 31 points, so they get 93 points there. Question number 3, this is where they're going to make up some points big time. Who do you think will go 102 in 1 QB redraft leagues? The 306 podcast said Christian McCaffrey. Most people believed he was going 101. So he was the number 6 on the board, but only a total of 6 points. So they only get 18 points there. Where the NC squared podcast said Dalvin Cook, and he was the number one answer on the board with 30 points. So a total of 90 points for the NC squared there. In order was Dalvin Cook, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, and then CMC. Most people would assume CMC would have 101, so I think that kind of got played into the answer. So the boys caught up there a little bit.
Last year.
Boys might have caught up a little bit there. Question number 4. What round would you draft a quarterback in a single QB redraft league? The number one answer was gotten by the 306 Fantasy Football Podcast, rounds 6 through 8. And they got 42 points for a total of 126 points. And the number 2 answer was gotten by the NC Squared Podcast, which was round 4 through 5 for a total of 28 points. Timesing that by 3, that is, oh boy, quick math, Jordan, figure this one out. What do we got? 74, is that correct?
Yeah.
Math guy. Big time math guy got that one. And our final question, both sides answered George Kittle. George Kittle was the number one answer by a slim margin. So a total of 41 points times by 3 is 123 points apiece. The number one answer was George Kittle, then Darren Waller, TJ Hawkinson, Kyle Pitts making his way in number 4, Mark Andrews number 5, and Mike Gesicki as number 6. So I'm going to total these points up here, and we'll see what the damage is, boys. So give me 2 seconds. 306 coming with 452 points for a total of 310 plus 452 equals 762 points. Now I'll see if the NC squared made up the difference in that one question.
Not even close.
Look, I'm not good at math, Jordan, but it ain't close.
I'll give the respect due and count it all up. Not bad. You guys just underneath what we had for the fast money. So you guys had 437 points, and they had 452 in the fast money. So a total of 762 to 437 is the grand total of the Fantasy Feud first ever edition.
Yeah, thanks for putting that together, Jordan. That was good.
That was fun.
Yeah,
That was awesome. Thank you so much for having us.
I'm a huge game show guy, so would have been fun to participate, but even hey, I should have brought out the little microphone and had like the standardized Family Feud little mic or something like that. But it was fun. Thanks. First,
Even Aaron Rodgers wants to be.
I could have had the little fantasy cue cards. That would have been good stuff. Now the second time we do it, I'll be prepared.
There we go.
Well, big thanks to NC Squared Podcast, Cord, Optin, and Nolan. Obviously, thanks for jumping on here, boys. I was on their podcast there right after the NFL draft and kind of talk some football with them. So it was real nice to be able to have them on our podcast and have them on. So if you guys want to maybe tell the people a little bit about your podcast, when you guys drop your episodes, tell them a little bit where they can find you, boys.
No, we just a couple of bros. Honestly, we're not professional. We don't really know much. Our hockey guesses have been absolutely awful this year. So, but no, we drop Monday mornings. We got Instagram or NC Squared Sports on Instagram. I think it is. We had to change it a bit, but yeah, we're on there. We're on Twitter a little bit with the same thing, and yeah, we just talk sports and kind of kind of hit every sport, hit UFC, NFL, try to get a guest on every week. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. What do you guys think? Anything else you can think of?
Yeah, mentioning the guests, tell the listeners a few of the guests you guys had. You guys have had some pretty impressive guests over the last couple weeks, or even a couple months, I guess.
Yeah. Who's the last one we had? Well, we didn't have one last week. Who'd we have the week before? We have one dropping with Connor Hobbs tomorrow. We announced that. I'm drawing a blank. I can't.
We've had Corey Sheets on from the Rough Riders.
Corey Sheets was on there.
Who else
Caleb
have we had?
Dahlgren.
A lot of guests.
Connor Ingram we had too. Oh, Caden Johnson we had there last week was a good one. Yeah, we're kind of trying to hit every sport. We had Andrew Albers on too. Get a little bit of baseball on there.
North Battleford boy, love it.
Yes, sir. No, we pretty much just try to hit every sport we can with guests for sure.
Well, right on. We appreciate you jumping on, fellas, and we'll definitely have to do this again. We've already thrown a few ideas around for the keeping on the game show theme. So big thanks to NC Squared Podcast. And if you haven't done so already, give them a listen, subscribe, follow them on socials as well, and drop an episode. They're dropping on Monday here. So like you mentioned, boys, checking them out on the Mondays and show the NC Squared another Saskatchewan podcast a little bit of love there. So big thanks to them jumping on, and we'll have to talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you, Jordan.
Take care,
Thank you,
fellas.
guys.
Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. So obviously a big thanks to NC Squared Podcast for jumping on and letting Armand and Zach kick their arse a little bit there with the old Fantasy Feud. But obviously the boys had a lot of fun with that one, and we'll definitely have to have them on again when it comes draft season there. When we need a few extra bodies, when we're doing a little bit of competitive drafting, or maybe a couple more fun segments like that. I know we'd love to have them on again. So big thanks to the boys at NC Squared. And like they mentioned, drops on Monday. So we obviously give them a listen and follow them along on the old socials as well too. Saskatchewan supporting Saskatchewan. I like to see it. So
and I feel bad for them with CD Lamb not being on that one list. Robbed them for sure. Could have been a whole different game, and I would have said CD Lamb for sure.
When we're piecing that one together, man, there were some answers. I was like, well, it's the people's answers. It's the people's. It's not ours. So I was like, I disagree with this totally, but I'm not going to change it. It's the people's answers. So whatever they think. And there were some answers that I was like, hey, these are pretty standard. Like I totally agree with some of these, but as soon as you got to some of the ones where it was like not so consensus, that was where it was kind of, you could see the variance, and some of those variants were I wouldn't say head scratchers, but definitely off the beaten path for some of them. So, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. I definitely want to do that again. So we'll hopefully when we ever have a empty slot, maybe we'll throw the old Fantasy Feud in there again and get it going. So hot takes here, guys. I know Armand already threw his out there, or a sampler for a hot take out there, but ice cold hot takes. Zach, you wanna start with yours?
Yeah, sure. So fellas, what if I told you for free, I would give you a lottery ticket where you could win like $10,000, not life-changing money, but happy to have an extra 10K.
I'm in.
Right?
Yeah.
You're
Where
happy.
do I sign?
And yeah, so that's a no-brainer. And that is exactly what Jacoby Myers is going to be this year. Right now, Fantasy Pros has Jacoby Myers as like the 77th wide receiver. I am going to go out on the limb and predict that Jacoby Myers will finish as a wide receiver 2 this year. So using PPR scoring, that means we're looking at wide receiver 24 or better. So starting it off last year, Curtis Samuel was wide receiver 24 in PPR formats, 212 points. The last wide receiver to score 200 points was Cole Beasley, and he finished as wide receiver 27. So we're looking at that threshold of the low 200s as kind of being what it takes to get to that wide receiver 2 scoring. So looking back at last year, Jacoby Myers stepped into a prominent role in week 7. Over the course of the remainder of the season, he put up 722 yards, about 65 and a half yards a game. But if you average that out over the course of the year, you're looking at just over 1,000 yards. Over that same sample, starting in week 7 until the end of the year, he had 58 receptions. which is just over 5 receptions per game. Again, over a season-long pace, that's 83 receptions. Add that all together with PPR scoring, and we're at 188 fantasy points. So we are knocking on the door of 200, which is about what we need for wide receiver 2 scoring. Now you factor in that he had more passing touchdowns than he did receiving touchdowns last year. He threw 1 touchdown, no receiving touchdowns. So you figure it's got to change, right? So if you think, you're conservative, you give him, let's say 5 touchdowns. All right. So that's an extra 30 points. 30 plus 188 gets you 218. Right now, that would have been good for wide receiver 23, 22. So ahead of Curtis Samuel. And things can only get better in New England at quarterback. If they go to the Newton route and he sucks again, guess what? Mac attack, right? If Newton's doing his thing, he's playing like he was supposed to last year, that's good too. And it's also a steal in the draft. Fantasy Pros has Myers as wide receiver 77. That's behind guys like AJ Green, Josh Reynolds, Traquan Smith, Manuel Sanders. I'm going to take Jacoby's upside over the proven production of the possible production of an AJ Green or Emmanuel Sanders every day of the week.
Are you concerned at all about Kendrick Bourne? I know that's another sleeper candidate for the New England there.
Well, that's a really good point. So they brought in Kendrick Bourne and they brought in Nelson Aguilar, not to mention the 2 tight ends. I think that can only help Jacoby. Last year, it was just Jacoby Myers in that passing game. He took over when Edelman got hurt, so he didn't play with Edelman. He played with Bag of Milk, N'Keal Harry, and Amir Bird. Like, thanks, but no thanks. I'm sure they're both great people, but not great football players. So I think that's going to take some of the attention off Myers. Myers thrived in the slot role, and I'm thinking Nelson's going to be on the outside, and Kendricks is going to be moving over the field a little bit. But I think that slot role is kind of Myers to lose. So I think he's somebody that you can get with wide receiver 2 upside for basically free at the end of every draft you do this year.
Right on. Armand, let's
All
hear
right.
Hot Take 2.0.
Hot Take 2.0. All right, so Zach, I'm going to say that with your hot take there, talking about Myers, they're going to go the Newton route the whole season. I'm going to say Newton is going to be a guy in redraft that you're going to want to take as your quarterback, especially if you're someone who likes to take your quarterback a little bit later. Okay. You look at last year, his total points were 268.98. Okay. And then that averages out to 17.93 points per game. Now, last year he had Bag of Rocks for receiving core. This year he has new upgrades, right? He has Bourne. He has some 2 tight ends that are pretty good. It's looking better. Jacoby Myers, as Zach says here. Zach's putting the buzz in everyone's ear how good he could be. So Cam Newton should score more points this year. He should look better. Take into account also he had COVID last year. He caught COVID partway through the season, and that's when you really saw his numbers dip.
And he was vocal about that too, like on how he felt different. He couldn't perform. So
yeah. So I think you look at his stats for every year besides his last year in Carolina, he throws for at minimum 3,300 yards a season. His touchdowns, his lowest was 18. He's usually in that around 20 average. He did throw 35 one season though too, right? And then he's got the rushing upside as well. He may not be quite the runner he once was, but he's a big guy that can go through some bodies still. He can break a few tackles yet. So I think he's a guy worth rostering and redraft, especially as a late QB pick, letting everybody else take the other guys, and you kind of can take Cam Newton there, and I think he'll get to that average of probably at least 20 points a game, which should jump him up into like top 10 QB for next year. I'm looking at some guys that he might be able to jump, right? Aaron Rodgers okay, we'll start with Cam Newton was 16th last year. So actually not awful. Good for super flex, not great for single QB, right? Aaron Rodgers might not even play, so he could potentially jump Rodgers. Watson probably not going to play, so he can jump Watson there, right? And the two guys that are going to replace him, I think Newton will outperform them, okay? Then Tom Brady, he put up a pretty good year in Tampa Bay. He's still got a pretty good receiving core. But, he is getting a little older. Maybe he doesn't maybe he tries to save a little bit for the postseason. Kirk Cousins, he's as a Vikings fan, I'll admit he's not the greatest. Matt Ryan just lost Julio Jones. Who knows what kind of season he's going to have. Zach talked earlier about him being long in the tooth, right? Ben Roethlisberger looks like he's going deep on the decline. So suddenly you got a handful of guys there that he can jump. There is very conceivable he can be top 10 next year, I think. And put up good numbers too, where you can still be like, yeah, he's close enough to that second tier of QBs. Like he'd be at the bottom of the second tier, but he'd be in that second tier where you're not wishing you had somebody else at QB, where you're like, okay, yeah, I can make this do because I got a bunch of studs earlier in the draft.
Well, his rushing platform is just like how do you throw 8 touchdowns and still be a top 15 quarterback? Like that's just insane.
Yeah. So like those passing stats last year were awful, but like you said, he was very vocal about how much COVID knocked him out.
Well, now he's got the weapons to help him out too. So I think it'll open up some options for him. I don't think it can get worse than that. I mean,
no,
it would be hard to believe that it could get worse.
Yeah, if it does, but oh boy.
Like you guys said with that COVID note, after the first 2 weeks, especially after that Seattle game, anybody that would listen to me, I'm like, the Pats they gotta re-sign him. Like he needs more money, he needs more years. We can't let him leave after this year.
They played that game on NFL TV again on the NFL Network. I watched it on Friday night. Oh my God, what a good football game that was.
And then after the bye week, so that's after the KC game, that's after the Raider game, after the Bronco game, bye week, and then after the Bronco game, after the Niner game, I was thinking, like, Brian Hoyer's not such a bad option.
Yeah, that's it's never good when you're putting the eggs in the Brian Hoyer basket.
Yeah. Once he got the COVID, it was downhill in a hurry.
Yeah, and fast. And well, it didn't help that teams are kind of buying into the whole load the box, everything,
oh yeah, exactly.
But once you get able to air the ball a little bit more too, like I mean, it's weird to compare Lamar Jackson to Cam Newton, but look what teams, when they had to play true to the pass, Lamar had all the options to run. But now when teams are buying in and he's having a hard time passing the ball last season, Lamar's numbers went down and he was still good. But I think that's more of a testament to the rushing capability for quarterbacks and buying into the rushing baselines and stuff too. But I don't know, my hot take, I don't know if it's even that hot. I guess it's just more of like a piece of news or a piece of what everybody should do. Like, I don't know. And Armand kind of mentioned it. It's buy AJ Brown wherever you can get him. It's not as a deep cut, I guess, but it's in the sense that, like myself, I was ready to jump off the cliff. I was scared about AJ Brown, and I was prepared to just start selling them and cut my losses, just because I'm like, man, like, this is tough. This is a tough situation. And especially if I'm a win now team, well, you know what, at the end of the day, I don't know if it's going to be that much worse. Like Zach had mentioned, I think it's going to get better. And it took me a bit of like just to sit down and really do a little soul searching on it, I guess. But as Julio Jones, he's 31 years old. Like was he 30? No, 31?
32 maybe.
32. Regardless, he's up there. So to the point, Julio Jones isn't going to be there forever. And yes, they are a passing offense. Or they're not a pass first offense, they're a rushing offense, but they are very, very good at the play action. Now, the added new coaching staff, was it the coaching staff was successful? Was it just the fact that the play action was successful? Was it Ryan Tannehill? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered. We're going to find those out early in the season. But right now, and this might be the hot take in itself, if you were to offer me right now, who would you rather take, AJ Brown or Calvin Ridley? I'm taking AJ Brown. And that might be the hot take right there. A lot of people are all in on Calvin Ridley. He's by himself. He's the lone guy. But like you'd mentioned, Matt Ryan has his own inconsistencies. And right now, he could be out there next year. So when you're looking longevity, like maybe in a keeper or a dynasty league, I don't know if Ridley's going to be the answer. Don't get me wrong. He's a great, talented receiver. And if he was on my team, I'd be very, very happy right now. But I like the longevity of AJ Brown in comparison to Calvin Ridley. I think AJ Brown still is going to have a really good season. And like Zach had mentioned, now it's going to be true single coverage because you have to load the box. Derrick Henry is a monster. You have to load that box, which is going to be able to give holes over top. You can continually pepper that play action. You can hit Julio underneath and AJ Brown over top, or vice versa. I think that offense is going to cause a lot of fits for defenses. So I think right now you just got to take a deep breath and realize, hey, AJ Brown is still a very talented receiver, and a situation in that offense is still solidified. So I think there might be a lot of people in that position that haven't had that time to digest it and haven't really thought about like, oh boy, what should I be doing? And are panicking a little bit about, oh God, AJ Brown. Like if you said right now, would you trade Calvin Ridley for AJ Brown? I would. But guess what? You're getting AJ Brown plus something. Where if you wanted to trade AJ Brown for Calvin Ridley right now, you're probably paying AJ Brown plus a little bit of premium. So right now I would be trying to buy AJ Brown everywhere because in reality, this is probably the cheapest you're going to buy him, especially in comes what are we 90 days away from NFL football? In 90 days when he busts out 115 yards and 2 scores week 1, AJ Brown's going to cost you a lot of money. So I think right now is you should be targeting AJ Brown as much as you possibly can. So it kind of goes full circle into Armand's take a little bit and then Zach's opinion. And now I'm just going to spin it into my own little hot take. So I guess the hot take in itself is that I'd rather have AJ Brown over Calvin Ridley, which might be the hot take, but yeah, buy AJ Brown wherever you can.
Like I was surprised with AJ Brown's price before the Julio trade. Like I thought it was pretty low, and I was like, man, like people should be buying AJ Brown with how low it is. And now like it's going to be even lower. Like, yeah, buy AJ Brown. I agree.
I'd say I bought him on a little bit on the high side. Like when I did my deal, actually it's funny because I traded Devontae Adams and Julio Jones in that trade and got AJ Brown. So we're talking about these guys. So I traded Julio and I got Deontay Johnson. Can't remember who I got in that trade, but theoretically I traded Adams for Brown straight up. And at that point I was like, I kind of overpaid a little bit. And now I probably could have got him a little bit cheaper, but then I would have been selling Julio a little bit cheaper. So they kind of was a little bit of wash at the end of the day. But man, I am trying to get him everywhere, especially in Dynasty right now. Like he's going to be one of my like in our league that we're in we're that keeper league. He's going to be my keepers. I think I got him in like the 7th round or something like that, or the 6th. So AJ Brown, the 7th round. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So
I think you'd be hard pressed. Like unless you find a guy that's, maybe panicking like you were, JC, I think you'd be hard pressed to like really get a value buy on AJ Brown. I think he's like if you find somebody that's knowledgeable and I don't know, just likes fantasy, not just September to January, but likes fantasy year round. I think they'll realize the value in him. So I think the price that you paid was fair. I don't think it's going to get any cheaper. Like you said, whatever you pay today might be the lowest it is, but I hope it's a high pay. If you buy him today, I hope you're paying a lot because he's worth a lot.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you're still going to get him cheaper than Calvin Ridley right now, I think, though. Like, so if you're trying to buy a young, talented guy, I still think I'd be putting my eggs in that basket. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Again, I agree because Matt Ryan's a true wild card.
Yeah.
Like
With Julio Jones, who's still a wild card. Like, so
like you're looking at Atlanta, like what were they thinking? Like
they had their option. They had the chance to get their
Yeah.
quarterback.
could have got Fields
Yeah.
or Jones. Like
Yeah.
or you could have maybe been a little bit more aggressive earlier on and tried to get up to 3 to prevent San Fran from getting Lance.
Yeah.
So like
It is a bit of a head scratch because they said they weren't going to rebuild and then took the Pitts deal. I was like, okay, well, you're not, they're going all in. And all of a sudden I was like, no, and we're trading Julio Jones. It's like,
right. Exactly. Like the Pitts pick looked like a win now trade or a win now pick. And then you trade that cornerstone. Now you're maybe you're in a spot where you're kind of like QB purgatory. Like you're not bad enough that you're getting one of those top 3 picks, but you're not good enough that you're threatening for the playoffs. So
well, and he comes with a
You're
lot of dead cap too. So if they are going to cut him and move on, like the dead cap is pretty steep. So I don't know, like you can't trade him. Like you can't trade Matt Ryan.
yeah.
I don't know. It's I don't know. I thought we had it tough with some of our teams there. As an Atlanta fan right now, well, Zach gets to kind of dance on them. That, what is it, the 27-3 meme or whatever?
28-3.
28-3 meme. Yeah.
Oh,
So
I was that night was
we were
a
watching that game
roller coaster.
together.
That was a roller coaster of emotions and like out of my mind excited when James White crossed the end zone. And then as I was packing up, I realized I had a shrimp ring still in the bag, sitting on the floor.
I forgot. Yeah, we watched that game together too. Oh man, I looked over at poor Zach and he was just pouting hard in the corner. I was like, oh, he's gonna be hearing for this for a while. Oh no, never mind. Best day of his life.
Okay.
Any last little tidbits here, fellas, to throw in before we shut her down?
No, just thank you again to those guys from NC Squared. That was lots of fun.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to have them on. Good set of boys, and we'll definitely have them on again. Armand, anything to throw to the listeners before we shut her down?
Thanks for your support. Go check out the NC Squared boys as well. It's awesome. Let's go.
Yeah, Saskatchewan, supporting Saskatchewan, like we mentioned. So thanks again for listening, you guys. Check us out on socials at 306 FFB, and obviously like and share our accounts. Also give us a subscribe or likes on the podcast platforms, also YouTube as well if you're watching on there. And as always, thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you guys in 2 weeks. Episode 10. It's hard to believe we're already there. So we'll talk to you guys in 2 weeks. Take care, everybody, and have a good one.